It is 6:31 on TMJ4 News today. The Kyle Rittenhouse defense team is expected to begin calling what will be its final witnesses to the stand.
And it comes a day after Rittenhouse himself testified, telling the court he shot and killed 2 men and injured another during the 2020 Kenosha riots because he was scared for his own life. Our Andrea Albers is outside the courthouse for us this morning to talk about what is ahead today. Andrea, good morning.
Good morning. The defense still has an opportunity to call witnesses today, but I want to touch on what you mentioned. Kyle Rittenhouse taking the stand in his own defense yesterday. It led to the most emotional and explosive day in court so far, with tears, tension, and even yelling inside of the courtroom. Rittenhouse repeatedly said he acted in self-defense when questioned by his lawyers, but during cross-examination, the prosecution walked the jury through each of the shootings and tried to push back on that claim. As cross-examination continued, it led to some heated words from the judge, who sent the jury out of the courtroom twice to scold Assistant District Attorney Thomas Binger about his line of questioning, and again when Binger asked if he could ask Rittenhouse on the stand about a video of Rittenhouse weeks before the shooting. The judge previously said it would not be admissible in court. And based on that, the defense team has asked the judge for a mistrial with prejudice. That means if the judge grants it, this case could not be retried in court. The judge, Bruce Schrader, has not decided what he'll do with that mistrial request. So court will resume today, and we expect the defense team to call 3 witnesses. Reporting live in Kenosha, Andrea Albers, TMJ4 News.
All right, Andrea, thank you very much. And let's continue our live coverage as the defense prepares to call more witnesses to the stand this morning. We are joined by local defense attorney and legal analyst Patrick Cafferty, as we have been during the run of the trial. Patrick, good morning. So let's start with this idea of a mistrial with prejudice. The judge did not make a decision on it. It's not unusual for defense teams to ask for one. What do you make of this request?
Good morning. So I think you're onto it. This is not an unusual thing for the defense to do, to claim that basically they've been denied a fair trial by some action that the state has taken. So it made good theater yesterday for viewers who were watching the judge yelling and chastising the prosecutor. But I think the reality of this is that the judge will keep this in his back pocket. He'll use it to keep control over his courtroom, and he'll make sure that everyone follows his rules. But at the end of the day, I would be shocked if he granted a mistrial under these circumstances.
We're talking with local attorney Patrick Cafferty to get his perspective on the Rittenhouse trial. So there he was yesterday, Patrick, Kyle Rittenhouse on the stand. As a defense attorney, you've been in that position before. I guess just your thoughts on how Rittenhouse acquitted himself. What do you think of his testimony?
So what I'd say, Vince, is that he said the right things. Every chance he got, he used the word threat. He clearly indicated that he believed that his life was in danger and he had to use lethal force the way that he did. The issue is going to be whether the jury who ultimately is seated, is buying what he's selling. There have been a lot of people focused on the fact that Rittenhouse broke down while he was on the stand, became emotional. I wasn't in the courtroom. I wasn't able to watch the jurors as they witnessed that. If they believe he was very sincere, then he may have done himself a real favor here. If they believe that that was an act, they may not believe his whole story, and the ultimate consequence for that would be a guilty verdict on at least some of the counts. The state obviously cross-examined him. The state is not buying what he's selling. The state certainly scored some points in terms of demonstrating that he instigated this event or basically brought this upon himself. So at the end of the day, it'll be up to the jury to decide what they believe of Rittenhouse's testimony, but I certainly think he said the right things.
So you thought, I mean, depending on what the verdict is, people will argue and discuss whether it was the right decision. Do you think it was the right decision to have Rittenhouse testify in his own defense?
I think it was the right decision from the defense's perspective. At the very least, what they did was they humanized Rittenhouse. He's a young person. He demonstrated some immaturity, some youthfulness, the emotion that you would expect from a teenager. So some of the people on the jury may have connected with him on an emotional level, and that's a positive thing generally for the defense. If a jury likes the person, they are more likely to acquit them. So I think that was a good strategy decision.
Important point. Patrick Cafferty, our legal analyst and defense attorney. Patrick, thanks very much. I look forward to talking to you again as this trial continues. Exciting day in court for us who are watching. A lot of folks, if you've ever followed a court case gavel to gavel, a lot of it's really boring. It's mundane and all of that. Days like yesterday where you have that explosive testimony and emotional testimony, very interesting. Our Stephanie Haynes is in the courtroom each day. She will bring us the latest on TMJ4 News today, coming at 5 o'clock.